So, talking about the sources of the literature review, we have seen that there are three types of primary sources, secondary sources, and tertiary sources. For example, primary sources, to make it very clear, we've got Freud and his psychoanalysis theory, and as the inventor or the father of the theory. Secondary sources, his student Jang, after taking the limelight. And we've got tertiary sources, all those who have worked with Freud and psychoanalysis theory. So sources can be research reports and published pieces and dissertations, magazines, journals, articles, newspapers, reviews, conference proceedings and papers, encyclopedias and dictionaries, books, online journals, or printed journals and databases. So collecting these sources is done in the first stage, or what we call the working backwards research. The working backwards research. In this stage, many experienced researchers recommend that you should start not by collecting primary sources or secondary sources, but reading tertiary sources. It means that in published dissertations, theses, articles, journal uh, articles, magazines, newspapers, and reviews. But what, for what reason? Why we have to read tertiary sources? It means that third-hand sources and not primary or secondary sources. Because at the first time, we are lost. We feel lost about the topic. What should I read? What should I include? So I have to read summaries of researchers, students, teachers who have worked in the field, and these summaries or these studies summarize my topic. So these tertiary sources summarize my topic, provide references and bibliographies, and list primary and secondary sources. So from tertiary sources, I'm going to get primary and secondary sources. So it's preferable to read tertiary sources or to search for tertiary sources for the first time. Reading these tertiary sources. These tertiary sources will guide me to primary and secondary sources. Additionally, tertiary sources provide a holistic picture and the context of my topic, as well as an initial understanding of the main theories and leaders in the field. It gives an initial understanding, a picture about what is as a set of theories and approaches in the field that I'm investigating. Your next step should be consulting secondary sources. So after consulting primary, tertiary sources, this step will guide me to secondary sources that describe the state of research on my topic and provide a more focused analysis of my subject of interest. These sources may also highlight where additional research is needed and provide ideas for the methodology that you could use for your study. After I gain a good understanding of the main issues related to my topic, I then move to what on to the final step of finding primary sources. So you see here the chronological order. I should start with tertiary sources. These tertiary sources will guide me to primary to secondary sources. Then secondary sources will guide me to primary sources. At this point, I possess the proper tools to assess and appreciate primary sources that describe the direct, first-hand experiences of researchers in the field. So this stage is called working backwards research. I'm collecting sources. Collecting sources, I shouldn't start by searching for primary sources. This will make me tired and I will lost my ambition from the first step. So I should start with tertiary sources. These tertiary sources provide me with what? With cues, with key points, with keywords that can guide me to secondary sources. And after reading some secondary sources, this will also guide me to primary sources. And this stage is called the working backwards research. I'm still reading, I'm still getting knowledge in the field of research that I'm going to explore. Locating my literature review sources. So this is the second step. So this process is also referred to as, or it is also called, the snowball effect. It is referred to as the snowball effect. Why the snowball effect? Since it allows you to continue to gather additional sources. So you are not going to stop at the sources that you have. You should read and gain and gather additional references and data or sources about the field that you are going to study that are cited in those you have already read. That's expanding and multiplying your sources. Therefore, when searching for sources on my topic, it is always a good idea to start with the most recent research you can find because it will include an updated literature review and references on your topic. And for this reason, we find the supervisors telling their students you should provide updated literature review, not old-fashioned literature review of the 90s, 1990s, 1980s, 1970s, etc. But more updated literature review because there are research works conducted every year and every decade.